All right, so this is the type of video where you get to witness Democrats humiliating themselves, particularly Senator Tammy Duckworth. She's trying so hard to go after Pete Hegseth by accusing him of not only war crimes, but calling him a killer. And other Democrats are now saying that the president is a murderer. But what do the facts say? Well, that's exactly what we're going to show you in this video. But before we do, like this video, share this video, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Let's start here.
There was actually a vote by Congress to put us at war in Iraq and Afghanistan. There was no such vote. There was no such debate here in this situation. So the fact that we do have professionals, our military men and women are the utmost professionals. The problem is they've not been authorized to be at war. And by the way, the individuals in that boat were not even aimed at the United States. So everything that they've done has been illegal. It's illegal under international law. It's illegal under the Geneva Convention. And it certainly is even illegal under domestic law. It was essentially murder with that double tap strike.
I mean, that's a very strong statement. Murder. Does that constitute a war crime? Is that what you're saying?
It is a war crime. It's illegal. However you put it, it's all illegal. Look, Dana, I've been shot down behind enemy lines. Under the laws of war, if a pilot bails out, he gets shot down, he bails out, he's in a rubber dinghy in the middle of the ocean. Under all the international laws of warfare, you are supposed to help render aid to that individual. Even if they have a radio and they're calling for their side to come pick them up, you're not allowed to go back in and kill them. Even if you know that they're going to conduct future operations against you. That's the Geneva Convention. And so everything that they did here was illegal. In fact, the two survivors were clinging to half of a boat in the middle of the ocean and had no access to a radio per the Admiral's briefing. And so, yes, all of it's been, the whole operation is illegal to begin with.
All right, so this video, so this update to this entire story is more about the humiliation factor. The facts have not changed. The rhetoric has not changed. One side claims that Pete Hegseth has committed war crimes. The other side says, no, we haven't. We're taking out narco-terrorists, which the president has the full authority to do. Now, before I show you how humiliating it was for Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, let me just give you some of the numbers. I'm reading this from Ground News. Guys, I would go to Ground News if I were you. If you want to see the bottom line up front information about stories being reported in mainstream media, if you want to see what left-leaning sources are saying, if you want to see what right-leaning sources are saying, you can use a tool like this, and it's going to help you do it in a very quick and organized way. For an example, here it is. The Trump administration's counter-drug campaign has reportedly killed at least 87 people and destroyed 23 boats, with critics alleging its legality is questionable. Now, didn't I tell you that she humiliated herself? Let me show you an example of this. Take a look.
Senator, have you seen the video?
I have seen the video, and it is deeply disturbing. I am mostly concerned with the fact that we are putting our American servicemen and women in jeopardy here. We're putting them in jeopardy in case they ever get shot down. We're putting them in legal jeopardy. They could be brought up in international criminal courts. And so what we're doing here is taking those professionals, or utmost professionals, and putting them into harm's way. And that's what bothers me the most about what Pete Hegseth is doing. He is the least qualified Secretary of Defense in our nation's history, and he's very cavalier about doing things. The fact of the matter is, only Congress can decide that we can go to war, and there was no such declaration made.
I just want to make sure that that I get this accurate. You have seen the classified video of this particular strike, the first strike, and then the double tap as it's known.
No, I've just seen what's been available in the media.
Okay.
I've read the full report, but I've not seen the actual video.
Okay, all right. Did you guys hear that? So she's basing her whole opinion and analysis on the public unclassified video version of what went down. She has not seen the classified version. This is how manipulation works. This is how propaganda works. And this is why we continue to encourage you guys to use Ground News to do your own research. And the cool thing about Ground News, guys, it shows you what all of the articles are saying about this particular story. Let me scroll down to the one that I find to be the most funniest from Mediaite. It says, is that a yes or no? Hegseth waffles when asked if he'll release the second tap airstrike video. So now they moved on from the talking point of war crimes to, why won't you release the full video? Wait a minute. Why are we asking the Department of War to release classified video footage? I didn't know we were able to do that. Did we ask Barack Obama to release footage of the airstrikes that killed American citizens? No, we didn't. Did we ever get to see it? No, we haven't. So it's just fascinating when you do your research, especially using a tool like Ground News, you get to see what the talking points are going to be ahead of time. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to do is go to ground.news/Devori, or you could download the mobile app. Just use promo code Devori, and it's going to give you access to everything that I showed you in this video, including 40% off the Vantage plan.
NBC News is reporting this morning that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, his order was to kill all 11 individuals on that boat because they were on a list of narco-terrorists who intelligence and military officials determined could be legally targeted. Was Secretary Hegseth's order to kill everyone on the boat because they were on this target list, Senator?
The order, like the entire operation, Kristen, is to destroy these drug boats, which are running drugs into our country from foreign drug cartels and traffickers that are killing hundreds of Arkansans every year and hundreds of thousands of Americans. Now, of course, before our military conducts such a strike, they have multiple sources of intelligence that give high confidence that everyone on that boat is a foreign drug trafficker, not an innocent civilian who's being human trafficked, for instance. And therefore, Secretary Hegseth said, and I agree, they're all valid targets.
And that last point by Senator Tom Cotton, I think sums it all up for me. We cannot trust mainstream media to report on the objective facts. Why? Because they're focusing on the narrative, which is that Pete Hegseth is unfit to lead. He should have never been the Department of Defense Secretary. He has no business being in charge. He doesn't know what he's doing. He issued these orders that are illegal. That's the rhetoric, okay? Let me just show you how crazy they are. Do you see this on the screen? This is coming from the Gateway Pundit, and this was actually a couple days ago. Low IQ Maxine Waters is now accusing President Trump of being a killer because of these strikes in the Caribbean, okay? Did this woman call Barack Obama a killer? And why do we do that? Why do we compare? Because I want you to see the lack of consistency in what they're saying. This isn't a value thing for them. This isn't a principle thing for them. This is a political thing for them, which is why they flip-flop when it comes to stories. Now, let me just show you how some Democrats are hell-bent on this. Listen to Jim Hines, because I think he's the loudest person calling for the removal of Pete Hegseth. Take a listen.
Why did it shake you so much? What specifically was bothering you?
Well, you know, and this is sort of the distinction, and there's a lot to unpack here about whether this is an authorized military action, which it is not, and right on down to whether these were legitimate targets, and they were not. But let me go back to some of the reviews I've done of other lethal action. Oftentimes when the Department of Defense takes a strike against a terrorist in Yemen or Pakistan or wherever, you watch a video of guys fully armed with AK-47s and sidearms and bombs and you name it, and they're on their way to do something terrible. And in this instance, you may have had bad guys. I have no doubt that these guys were involved in the running of drugs. Now, whether they were running it to the United States or Europe is yet another question. But in that instance, these guys were about to die. Had the United States just walked away, their little piece of wood would have gone under the waves. And as many times as Tom Cotton may say that it doesn't matter what they were doing, it matters essentially what they were doing, because under the law, and if you've spent 15 minutes in law school, you know this, under the law, if someone has been struck and continues to engage in hostilities, points a gun at you, has a gun, they may be a legitimate target. But if they are outside of combat, they are not. And attacking them is a violation of the laws of war. And these guys, and this is why the American people need to see this video, these guys were barely alive, much less engaging in hostility.
Okay, now let's just address the elephant in the room. Is this story, these decisions, and this overall rhetoric regarding all of this, will it have an impact on your life? Absolutely not. Will it impact the rest of the Americans out there, the average American, low income, high income, doesn't matter what their labels are? Will it impact overall American citizens? Absolutely not. And this is why you know this has zero credibility to it. Because this isn't going to decide an election. This isn't going to improve the economy. This is not going to whip up votes. But this is the problem with Democrats. They're so obsessed with focusing on every little thing they don't like about this administration, that they lose sight of the actual message that would help them win elections. It's just fascinating to continue to witness this. And it all starts with when the mainstream media, particularly the Washington Post, runs a narrative story, not a objective fact driven story, right? This is why Senator Tom Cotton's demanding them apologize to Pete Hegseth. Take a listen.
Now, this controversy, let's remember, all started with a Washington Post story about 9 days ago that said after the first strike, there were 2 survivors that were helpless, and then they were ordered to kill these helpless survivors. That is simply not the case. They were not floating in the ocean on a wooden plank or in life jackets. They were on the capsized vessel. They were not incapacitated in any way. It was entirely appropriate to strike the boat again to make sure that cargo was destroyed. It is in no way violation of the law of war. And I think the Washington Post owes Secretary Hegseth, and especially Admiral Mitch Bradley, a highly decorated career Navy SEAL, an apology for that slander.
Only in a perfect world would we actually get a legitimate apology from these outlets, particularly legacy media. I mean, they're not in the business of apologizing to anyone. They're in the business of pushing narratives that furthers their agenda, which is to do what exactly? Well, I would say persuade public opinion to obviously cater to the people who fund these networks to begin with, and have these long-standing relationships with. And we all know what that means. Usually, these institutions lean Democrat. This is why Hollywood, this is why the entertainment industry, the music industry, even sports for that matter, most of it, they all lean Democrat. And that's why if you really want to make a lot of money as a commentator, you'd be bashing the president right now and pushing a lot of Democrat talking points. But that's not who we are here on this show. And I'm not faulting them for that. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're entitled to their opinion. So having said that, let's hear the opinion of Secretary Hegseth, where they asked him, are you guys going to release the full video footage of what went down? Here's what he said.
From what I understood then and what I understand now, I fully support that strike. I would have made the same call myself.
So, Mr. Secretary, you will be releasing that full video.
We are reviewing it right now.
Is that a yes or no?
That is, the most important thing to me are the ongoing operations in the Caribbean with our folks that use bespoke capabilities, techniques, procedures in the process.
Listen, as someone who served 13 years in the military, I don't care about seeing the rest of that video. Okay? I really don't. I mean, and I might be a little naive, but I really don't. I mean, in the hierarchy of problems that are wrong with this country, in the hierarchy of issues that are plaguing this country, drug vessel airstrikes in the Caribbean is the least of our problems, okay? Now, some people who are really hell-bent on principles in this matter could make a legitimate argument that the American public should see the full video footage of that. Well, if that's the case, let's see all video footage of every single airstrike in history. Let's do that. Are you willing to demand that? Let's be consistent. Why does this one stand out than all the other ones, especially when there have been airstrikes that killed American citizens? Wouldn't we want to see the video footage of that? Shouldn't someone have been prosecuted? Nobody was prosecuted. Nobody was dragged into Congress, particularly the people who made these decisions. No, we didn't hear anything. So I don't really buy into this line of thinking. Now, in case you guys want a reminder about Pete Hegseth and how he feels about everything, he's doubling down on what the mission is. Take a listen.
The days in which these narco-terrorists, designated terror organizations, operate freely in our hemisphere are over. These narco-terrorists are the Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere, and we are hunting them with the same sophistication and precision that we hunted Al-Qaeda. We are tracking them, we are killing them, and we will keep killing them so long as they are poisoning our people with narcotics so lethal that they're tantamount to chemical weapons.
Now, as a careful reminder, Democrats never talk this way about these narco-terrorists or cartels that have literally been responsible for killing thousands of Americans. And I would argue members of Congress are complicit in that because they've allowed this to take place for so many decades now. It seems like the president's the only one in recent history who's been willing to do something about it at some level. Now, I still believe the president should go farther. I mean, who cares about Venezuela? Let's just go all in. Let's get the Mexican cartels out of business. Let's eradicate them. If not, then why are we deploying Navy resources to the Caribbean? Why are we striking drug vessels? That's like surface level stuff. Let's just go all the way. Now, unfortunately, if we go all the way, I think this clip will only be amplified and will be the primary message coming from Democrats that the president is a murderer. Take a listen.
I mean, look, the president of the United States and his secretary of defense are conducting murder on the high seas. They're committing murder, and Americans should care. Like, look, none of us like drug traffickers, but we have laws that say that drug traffickers don't get summarily executed. And if it's happening off the coast of America with people that we don't know, just give it time before Donald Trump starts doing this same kind of thing to people we do know right here at home. It matters if the president of the United States breaks the law.
Okay, so we both heard the same thing. Essentially, they're now saying that the president's going to start killing American citizens on American soil. This is how deranged they are. And the interesting part about it is people eat it up. You got people who literally are going to take that talking point and cram it down people's throats, especially MSDNC. And you saw no pushback. She offered no pushback. Well, what she should have said is, well, hey, wait, Congressman, has there been any order that shows or proves that the president's going to take out an American citizen? Of course not. But this is the world we live in, and that's why we got to call it out, because this is peak delusion. And as much as Democrats want Americans to be obsessed with what's happening with Venezuela, they don't have time for that. They're trying to pay their bills and live their lives. And meanwhile, Democrats are trying to allege that Republicans are looking to remove Pete Hegseth as well. Take a listen to this.
We're getting some glimmers that Republicans in the Senate are looking at Hegseth now and thinking of him as kind of like the pig pen of this, to borrow from Peanuts, the pig pen of this administration. Like, he's just followed by a cloud of dust and controversy everywhere he goes. I mean, he's quite obviously, I don't think this is a genius or novel observation. He's quite obviously way in over his head in this job. And so that's obvious. I do think that this has been a terrible week for Hegseth. Ordinarily, you would say, yes, Donald Trump is very quick to, Donald Trump historically has been quick to discard people who cause him problems. Obviously, he's run this second term very differently than he's run the first term. And he has stayed loyal, if that's the right word, or obstinate at least, about not replacing people who are causing him and his White House embarrassment. But at a certain point, Susie Wiles and other grown-ups in the White House have to look and say, you know what? There are better people for this job. Some of them are actually in the Pentagon already.
Yeah, better people for the job, like this gentleman here, this guy right here. Are you kidding me? Okay, we've seen what happens when Democrats choose people. I don't think it pans out very well for the American people. We just went through that. Now, that doesn't mean that Pete Hegseth was the most qualified guy out there to be the Secretary of War. I'm not insinuating that whatsoever, but he's the right man in this very moment, especially for the morale, culture, and high standards that is in demand for our military. No question about it. You can't argue against that. That's why I always say I think he was actually the best pick, because the people at the bottom of the food chain here, at the, the privates, the sergeants, they love that he is their guy. And this takes us to the bottom line from Senator Eric Schmidt, who tells us exactly what's going on here and what people truly need to know about this entire situation.
What we're talking about here, the narco-terrorists poisoning Americans. This attempt to try to focus on a pardon is classic, because you've lost the debate now on the narco-terrorist question. Because at the beginning of the week, you had Democrats actually on camera saying you should disobey orders. That's what Senator Kelly and Slotkin were saying. You should disobey orders. And then they went so far as to say that if you don't do that, you might get prosecuted down the road. It's hard to sort of overstate how problematic that is for the chain of command and what it is for a military. The Democrats had their shot at all this, and it was rejected. They wanted to have DEI struggle sessions in our military, transgender surgeries, recruitment was way down. The fact is, under President Trump and now Secretary Hegseth, recruitment is sky high, morale is sky high. They're upset about that because they had an agenda that said that America could be everywhere all at once all the time. Now we have a president that's a realist, focusing on core national interest, including protecting Americans from being poisoned by the narco-terrorists.
And what's interesting, the criticism isn't even them striking drug vessels in the waters from me. It's that let's not just do drug vessels in international waters. Let's go into Mexico. I mean, if we're really going to do it, right? That's my whole thing about it. So I applaud Pete Hegseth. Stay the course. I applaud the president for actually doing something of some level in regards to cartels and closing the border to prevent the smuggling of fentanyl and other drugs. And let's not forget about weapons too, because we know Democrats love weapons. They love to say we need more gun laws, but they have nothing to say about how many guns are smuggled over the border. But okay, why don't we hear from you guys in the comment section below to this entire story? Where are you at this point, given all of the information that's been released? Number one, you saw Tammy Duckworth didn't even look at the actual video, the classified version rather, but she's going in front of a camera and lying about Pete Hegseth. What is your reaction to that? And secondly, if the president was asking for your advice, what would you do moving forward regarding the cartels? Would you say, hey, let's go and eradicate them, or would you take a step back? Give me all your thoughts and everything you got in the comment section below. Okay, so in our next video, which I think you'll find entertaining, Senator John Kennedy has come out and he is demanding Ilhan Omar and the rest of the politicians involved in the level of fraud coming out of Minnesota, which is record level, by the way. Some people say it's $8 billion, $2 billion. It's $1 billion at a minimum. Well, he says that she should be prosecuted. You guys missed out on that update and more stories from yesterday. All you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.